Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Jacqueline, and I am from Unmistakably You here in London, Ontario. And today I am not joined by Amy, but instead I am joined by...
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicolette, and I am from Nova Socials, which is a coordination company in Toronto.
Yes, and we always love teaming up with Nicolette. She actually used to work for Amy. I'm not going to say way back in the day because we are still young and so youthful and don't look at our IDs. But we are here today to kick off the expectation series. Like Amy and I mentioned, we are working harder, we're working smarter, not harder this year. So we're giving bite-sized series every month to try to make the wedding planning process more digestible. So this month we're setting everyone's expectations, starting with the very first thing that happens, which is the proposal. And I thought there's nobody better to hang out with us than Nicolette, because this is also a service that sometimes she offers. So yes, Nicolette did just kind of plug herself. She does work for Nova Socials. If you're interested in anything that she's doing, I highly recommend you check out her pages. Everything is down below. I'll make sure that I tag everything below as well. Forewarned, everybody, I am not the best at navigating the slideshow plus the Facebook comments. So if you are plugging comments in and you're noticing that it's taking a little bit, bear with me. It'll come back for me to check that page too. Now, like we said, our goal at Unmistakably You is trying to make things as bite-sized and digestible as possible. And Nicolette is great at it as well. She does awesome little Instagram series that gives everyone some great tips for whatever stage they are at in their coordination. And we always say that the first step to planning your wedding is admitting what you don't know and finding out where to get the steps. So you've done your work, you've got here, whether it's on our YouTube page or our Facebook group, and we're so happy to have you. And since it's February, the month of love, sorry, Nicolette, for all these housewarming announcements, we
I'm loving it.
have officially sent out our February newsletter. So I always say check your spam folders. We tend to send the best things there. And if it does happen to be there, or if you're noticing that there's no newsletter and you really want some information, message us. We'll make sure that you get on the list for next month, and I'll make sure that I send you this month's edition as well. And because we love you all so much, we gave you 2 blogs this month. One has already dropped. It's kind of discussing the difference between a venue coordinator and an independent coordinator, which Nicolette and myself would be considered, as well as giving you some V-Day survival tips. Now, my friends and family know me as being a serial dater. And although I am officially engaged now, I like to think that with my experience of dating so frequently, that I've come up with a good way to survive Valentine's Day throughout the years. So wait for that to drop. It should be the week of Valentine's Day. As well as, like I had mentioned, this month is all about setting expectations. So today we're talking about proposals, but next week we're talking about the heavy stuff, setting realistic budget expectations, because like I've said before, you cannot always take budget advice from people whose gas was 60 cents a liter. As well as on February 20th, we're going to be talking about today's wedding climate, including budgets and what that looks like this year, trends that are happening, what we're noticing the shift being, as well as ways that you can still navigate wedding shows in a pandemic climate. And on the 27th, you can catch us live at the Lamplighter Inn at the Rings Wedding Expo. We're super excited to be there again. And as I blab on more about housewarming, we have our ultimate budget workshop this month. If you want to scan that QR code with your phone, or if you want to just join our workshop page, that's another separate link on our Facebook page. It'll take you over to where you can register for either our virtual budget course, where you're able to take that in your pajamas in your sweet, sweet home, or you can meet us at the studio where we'll feed you some food, we'll give you some drinks, we'll soften the butter up a little bit, as I say, as we might pop your bubble about how much weddings may cost. But we're here to give you the tools and the resources as well in that workshop. Whew, I think I did a new record. That was fast. Let me know how I did, everybody. In addition, we just wanted to let you know if you're helping pull off a proposal, because we understand that most of you watching this, chances are you've already been proposed to, you've already proposed, you might be well into your wedding plans, but you may have a friend that is expecting a proposal shortly and you might be helping their partner out. Or if you are newly engaged like myself, you're probably going to connect to that post-proposal panic that we all feel, as well as we can talk about if we had some expectations about our proposal stories and whether they were met or maybe not met, and maybe if that was on us or on our partner, because spoiler alert, it might have been on you. Now, like I said, today we're going to chat about the pre-proposal, as well as the proposal and post-proposal, as well as all the expectations, the considerations, and actions that are involved. Now, typically, like I said, those of you who are watching, it might not apply to you, but it might be nice to give some advice here and there. So you might notice that this is a good video for you to share. I highly recommend that. But again, I'm biased. Now, Nicolette, did I skim over anything in the sales pitch?
No, it sounds very worth it. This is going to be full of information that really, I think.
Right? That's what I'm hoping for. So,
Mhm.
as Taylor Swift once said, I like shiny things, but I would marry you with paper rings. And I think that's how we all feel when we are in our happy bubble pre proposal, but we know it might happen or we're hoping it's going to happen. But let's be honest, Taylor Swift wrote those lyrics on very expensive paper, with a very expensive pen, in a very expensive apartment after having a very expensive date. So we're going to talk about the real expectations and considerations to have about the pre-proposal. So, Nicolette, you help people plan wicked proposals all the time. What do you typically talk to people about when they come to you?
There's definitely like one of the biggest things is that, like, have you had this talk with your partner? Because I think a big factor for everyone, and I think this is something everyone knows, is your partner doesn't need to know necessarily that they're getting engaged tomorrow, but it's something that you have talked about, and you're both on the same page about it. So
Absolutely.
that's a good place to start. And then from there, it's vision, of course, inquiring about the couple and, their relationship in general and getting to know them and then helping them achieve that vision financially, physically.
That's awesome. I'm so happy that you touched on about whether or not they had a vision, because something that we, as I'm not going to say genuinely females, but typically the partners that have dreamt of their wedding for as long as they can remember, maybe have pictured their perfect proposal,
Mhm.
may not always consider the fact that their partner has as well. Now, I'm not going to say that Alex, my partner, sat around in kindergarten planning his proposal the way that I may have, but I'd like to think that somewhere down the line, he got an idea of what might fit. He created some expectations, and I'm hoping that along the line, he also considered some factors such as, does the perfect proposal, whether I need to know about it? Do you want it to be a surprise? Do you want it to
Mhm.
be completely out of the blue? These are things that you can express to your partner well before you even have the discussion of ring size, what shape you like, things like that. Just, do you want to know about it? Or do you want to be blindsided in your pajamas with your retainer in?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think there's definitely some couples that like to plan it together. There's partners that want to pick out their ring. There's partners that have a family heirloom that they know is going to be passed along. So the date is just the surprise. And so those are very important discussions. And also knowing, being a little intuitive there, like if your partner is more of a introvert, likes it, it's you and them most of the time. I don't know if they're going to be um, excited about you proposing at a stadium. Yeah.
Yeah.
So reading your partner.
That's a huge one. That's a huge one. Now, another thing that you can always do if you are the partner that not, it's tough. It's tough to give up that control. It's tough to, announce the fact that, okay, I've chosen that I'm not going to be the partner who proposes, but now I'm just sitting here and waiting. What can I do to make sure that what is going to be on my finger for the next however many years, hopefully until the end of your lives, you live a nice, long, and happy marriage, but you might have an opinion about what color metal you want it to be. Maybe you're the kind of person that really only wears gold, or maybe you really love rose gold. These are some
Mhm.
things that you can definitely talk about with your partner without necessarily needing to see the exact ring. Now, like Nicolette said, it's not so out of the ordinary now for people to shop for rings together. So if that is more your relationship style and you've always been collaborative and they are completely okay with having your feedback and they would actually be more comfortable knowing that you love your purchase and you're
Mhm.
okay with not being completely surprised, there's no wedding police. You can do whatever you want to do, whatever is going to work best for you. But a big thing to consider always is the financial side of things. And I joked all week with Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Scott and Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox, but seriously, those rings are stunning, but they probably cost triple amount of your down payment on your next home. And if
Yeah.
that's your main priority, that's okay. But understand that that will also need to be a discussion with your partner, because you want to be able to express your expectations versus assuming they're going to be able to read your mind. Because over the years, I've learned I've given way too much credit to partners. They really don't know what I want, and they really don't know how to read my mind. So chances are your partner might not either. So understand that although you might not be able to take full control, it is okay to set some expectations. It doesn't make you bossy. It doesn't make you picky. It doesn't make you a princess or anything like that. It is going to be the most expensive and most prized and well-priced possession on your finger. So if you want to have an opinion about it or just about the proposal in general, that's okay. Nobody's going to be calling you Bridezilla before you get down the aisle, I promise. Now, chatting about, sorry, Nicolette, go ahead. I dove right in.
No, I was just gonna say I completely agree, and it's best to have that conversation beforehand, and, you might be a little nervous, but it definitely beats you being unhappy wearing this ring or having that conversation after where it was like, "Everything was so beautiful, but I would love to maybe trade in my ring," because unfortunately, a ring is, for most of the time, just like a car. Once you take it off the shelf, it loses its value. So if you were to trade it in, you're not gonna get what you bought it for. So it's really good to have that clarity beforehand. I have my girlfriends, we share a Pinterest board, and they know when I give them that wink, they are gonna be forwarding this information, and that might be what, is a tool for everyone.
Exactly. I find that some partners are a little embarrassed that they don't know exactly what their partner wants. But like I just said, unless you are clairvoyant and can read people's minds, chances are you might not know what your partner wants. So there's no shame in
Mhm.
asking, hey, I'm sorry, I've never bought you a ring before. What's your ring size? I want this to fit when I propose. I don't want us to have to go back to the shop and get it resized.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily ruin the surprise by any means. If anything, it gets everyone a little bit more excited because there is that anticipation for the
Mhm.
proposal, which is what we're
Exactly.
moving on to right now. And I swore to myself up and down every time I've watched any proposal video, been a part of proposals, I would not be the girl that doesn't say anything. I swore to myself that I would say yes, that I would give an answer, and that I wouldn't leave the poor guy hanging. And I literally stood there saying nothing, just holding my face, and had to make him say the 5 lines that I feel so bad. So, is that a yes? So, this entire section is warning you that whatever expectations you had for your reaction, for their sentences, for the proposal in general, chances are it's not going to happen. And I'm not saying my engagement story is the prime example of it, but Nicolette, I am so excited to tell you.
I cannot wait to hear.
So, when we talk about the proposal, we want to talk about those expectations and considerations as well. So, if you maybe were a wedding planner, maybe you have had the exact proposal in mind in the exact space, maybe you have done a great job expressing that to your partner, that that's your expectation. It doesn't mean you can control what the universe is going to bring you, which for me, I thought it was spider senses on my day that I was proposed to. I woke up, had a lot of energy, was really excited. Alex was in a great mood, which does not happen in the mornings. I had a little like nervous flutter in my tummy. I was like, oh, this is good. And then I started getting a headache. And then I started
Oh.
getting a really stuffy nose. And then my throat got really itchy. And then I took a COVID test.
Oh my gosh.
And they weren't spider senses saying I was going to be proposed to. It was a positive COVID test.
Oh,
But
no.
on the same hand, it was the spider senses, because when I told Alex, hey, you've got to come home, I have COVID, he went, no, you don't. And then when I called all my family members throughout the day and said, hey, everybody, and they all answered, hey, and I went, I'm just calling to let you know I'm sick. They all went, oh no,
Oh.
oh no. And then Alex came home and I said, I guess I shouldn't propose tonight, should I?
Oh.
After years of waiting and us discussing the perfect proposal and him finally getting the perfect ring and finding it after we've discussed it for so long, the day came and the universe had other plans. So I still was so thankful that he proposed that night. I came out of the bath looking, honestly, the joke is, like a seal. My hair was slicked back with coconut oil. I had no makeup on, sweatpants. And I come out, twinkly lights down the hallway, proposed in the living room. And we luckily got to isolate for 5 days after that. So although it wasn't the proposal I had in mind, it was way better than it ever could have been. Because in all honesty, the proposal we discussed, the more we thought about it and broke it down in that 5 days post proposal, we realized it wasn't that good of a plan. It's going to be really cold. There's really nowhere to get a good shot where anyone could hide for the photo element, because that might be a conversation you want to have with your partner, whether or not you want it to be photographed or not.
Mm-hmm.
But that was my proposal story. So what I really want to get in everyone's heads is you can create this beautiful Grey's Anatomy, Shonda Rhimes, blue post-it note on the wall romance story in your mind, and you might end up with a positive COVID test the day it's supposed to happen and an amazing story to tell your friends and family for years to come. So the big point here is that you really won't remember to wear the right outfit. You probably won't have your nails done. It's good to plan for it, but it might not happen. Your makeup could be smudged. You're probably not going to wear your under eye concealer that day, but it's still going to be so memorable. And it's going to be so awesome.
That is quite the story. Oh my goodness.
I felt so bad. So after like that night, I called my parents. We'll get into the post-proposal part, but called my parents and they were like, oh, we were so worried that we gave it away when you called us. And we were so excited that you were calling us.
Yeah. Oh
It's
my
like, yeah,
gosh.
normally
They're
when I
so
call you
cute.
guys, you're like, what's wrong? Something
Yeah.
wrong.
Well,
No.
I think that's like a perfect example of expectations, because you can plan and you can plan and you can plan. Something will always go wrong. We always hope it's minor and something very, fixable. But you have to always have a plan B. And his plan B clearly was, while she's in the bath, I'm going to decorate this place and we're going to make it really romantic. And you know what? That is just as beautiful. And sometimes it's even better,
Oh, it
you
was
know?
so much better because he
Yeah.
was able, I don't remember half of it, but he said around the line something about like, we've always rolled with the punches. And I'm like, this is exactly what we do. This is
Oh,
exactly like, we don't plan for proposals. We don't plan for a wedding. We plan for a marriage. And this is what we did. So take that with you if you are currently helping a friend plan a proposal, or if you are currently trying to plan the proposal yourself. Just know that whatever you do, it's going to be memorable.
yeah.
So some of the actions that you can take, like I said, for most of you, it's going to be just to try to soak it in. Try not to control everything. I think
Mhm.
throughout like the week of Christmas, when I thought it was going to happen, I wore white every single day. It was so annoying. Like, I feel so
No,
bad for
that's
my friends, for
cute.
my family. Christmas morning, I came out in white pajamas and was just sitting there waiting. Like,
No, that's adorable. I love that.
you just have to soak it in. And when it does finally happen, like I said, you're not going to be wearing what you thought you were going to be wearing, and you're not going to care. So do not go and spend lots of money trying to look a certain way just to soak in that moment when it happens, because it's not going to work. You can have the white Skims, but you're not going to find them the morning that it happens. I promise.
Nope, that's just how it works. I think, what Alex said too is perfect with rolling with the punches, because really, like we said, stuff is gonna happen and you just gotta brush it off. You're gonna be like, "Oh, well, on to the next thing," because don't let it ruin your day, right? Like, this
Oh
is a
my gosh,
special
yeah.
day no matter what.
Exactly. And I'm so happy that Nicolette started the conversation with this, but I do want to highlight it that if by chance you haven't had the discussion with your partner, are we ready for the next step of our relationship? I think very often we get in this position where we think we are having to say yes. Now, obviously, we've seen those horrible TV shows where they're at the sports stadium and this person's sitting there and it's in front of all the fans and they say no and everyone's throwing drinks and popcorn. If you need to be that person, it's okay. Jody from Something New Efficient said something amazing a couple weeks ago, which is no one is expecting you to get married. If you're not ready to have your wedding right now, you don't have to. So no one is expecting you to say yes. If you're not ready, you're not ready. And it's way better to have that conversation as a couple first than down the line when you've invested a lot of money into a wedding or into your future with somebody that you might not emotionally be invested in. So if you find yourself in that position, never think that you are stuck. although we, work with weddings, we will always have your back. If you message us and just need someone to vent and cry to that night, it's okay. Send us a message. And for the rest of you, though, on a much lighter note, if you are planning the proposal or if you are helping someone plan a proposal, you just have to do what you do best. The partner is either trusted to be with you for the rest of their lives because they love you, they know that you know them deep down, they know that you are going to do an amazing job, or they've enlisted your help to lead the partner in the right way as the friend. Maybe you've swapped Pinterest boards like Nicolette and her friends, but they trust you enough that you're going to do the right job. So don't second guess anything. If you're thinking, well, it's February and it makes sense to do roses, but they like sunflowers, then do sunflowers, do what you do best. You know what's right. And if you find yourself in the position where you're not one to always speak from the heart or expressing yourself, this is an expectation that most partners have, whether it's expressed or not. You should say some words leading up to the question, will you marry me? It shouldn't just, be on a cupcake that you hand over to someone. You might have to speak from the heart. And this is something that can be really difficult for some people. And if it is, I always joke, become Phoebe from Friends, take your shampoo bottle into the shower and give yourself the best Oscar award speech, or give yourself the best Ryan Gosling Notebook moment. Feel all of the feels, act it out like crazy. But if you know that you have a difficult time expressing how you feel, please don't expect it to come to you when you are feeling that pressure. Amy and I talk about it all the time when it comes to writing your vows. But if you are planning to say something when you propose, you will have to practice it, because as I said, I didn't even say yes. So it will go out of your brain very quickly. And I'm sure if I were to ask Alex if he said everything that he had planned, he'd say no, because you don't know what's going to come out of your mouth. So if you do have something that is going to really hit your partner in the best way possible, then practice saying it. And if you may not be the best decorator or the best, I don't want to call Alex out, but the decorating Nicolette, I could have used you. The boy does great work, but he can't make the house a home, if you know what I mean. I think the last thing he decorated was his locker in high school. So
Oh,
if you know that your partner, and luckily I am not expecting glitz and glam or flowers anywhere, so he did perfect. But if your partner is expecting glitz and glam and the last thing you displayed was a bunch of beer bottles on your college dorm room mantle, then know when it's time to call in the pros. And that can be for decorating. That can be, just asking friends, hey, what goes well together? Or it could be, instead of going to the grocery store and buying a bunch of flowers, it could be you going to a florist and saying, hey, this is my budget. My partner loves flowers and I'd love to fill our space. What can you do? If you know that your partner has a specific flower in mind, go directly to the florist. They might be able to help you create something that's beautiful and creative and completely unique for your partner, or they might be able to give it to you at a way better cost than you'd be able to find yourself. Now, flowers in the month of February are always ridiculous for multiple reasons, not only just because they're in hot demand with Valentine's Day, but they're not easy to be found amongst all of the snow. So a lot of the time the cost goes up a bit. So plan ahead for that. Again, that's why Nicolette, I cannot preach enough about her services. To be able to ask, what's your budget for the proposal? I don't think enough people ask themselves that question, and they don't take into account how much a proposal might cost in addition to the ring, depending
yeah.
on the partner's expectations.
Exactly. Definitely. I think that we get very caught up in the ring and the actual speech, like you said, which again, very, very important. But then you don't think about budgeting for what you're going to do. So if you're going to do a hotel room, or if you're going to, do a flash mob that you're going to need permits for, or, anything that, like, everything unfortunately costs money. And you don't want to be stressing yourself out that now you can't do this, or you did it anyways, but you don't really have the money for it. So it's so good to budget beforehand. Potentially, if you are going bigger, get a pro. Even if you're going smaller, sometimes it's nice to have just that person on your hand, and that has your back, because it is a big day, and you don't want to stress any more than you have to on that day.
Exactly. And one thing that you can always take away from it, though, like I said, Alex had a lot to live up to. He was proposing to a wedding planner who grew up on TLC Say Yes to the Dress. Like, that
Yeah.
poor man.
I
So
feel for him.
I don't know if it was a blessing for him that I was sick the morning he had planned it, but he did perfect. So however it's supposed to happen, it will happen that way, and it's going to be memorable, and it's going to be a story regardless if it gets splattered all over Instagram and regardless if it goes viral on TikTok. It is still going viral as a core memory for the two of you.
Exactly.
Now, post proposal, I always embody the Monica Geller standing on the balcony. I'm engaged. I'm engaged. So I think anyone that has been engaged or that post proposal, or even if you've been a friend that has witnessed your friend being proposed to, you feel this bubble of excitement. And all you want to do is scream and shout at the top of your lungs. Maybe you've pictured yourself being whisked away to your engagement party, or maybe you've pictured yourself just instantly crawling into bed, sitting at home, cuddling, being like, oh my goodness, this is we're starting something. Wow. However it is, this is also something that you need to express to your partner. If you have always planned on going to your parents' house immediately after your proposal, but they've also planned on going to their parents immediately after the proposal, you may find yourself having an argument immediately after your proposal. So these are good things to have conversations about. Again, Amy jokes that I've got this risk analysis brain, but I always say to be clear is to be kind. So be
Yeah.
clear with what you want post proposal. If you've never done much thinking about it, this could be something that you start to spark up with your friends and family now, where, hey, I'd really love if everyone can try to get together the weekend after we get proposed to, whenever that happens. Or, like I said, if you've ever pictured yourself going in, staying in, having that little unpoppable evening where nobody can get into your love circle, that also needs to be expressed not only to you and your partner, but to your families. Because oftentimes your partner will talk to your families prior to the proposal. And sometimes family members will say, oh, we're going to pop by at 9:30 then if it's happening at 9. Your partner needs to know whether or not that's something you want so they can field that for you. Or vice versa, you need to be able to prepare yourself for the bombardment of phone calls, which I will touch on in a moment. Because the first thing that I did was think, who do I need to call first? But then the second thing I thought of was, oh, we should take a picture. And very quickly, my social media brain went to, okay, let's take another one. Oh, I didn't like that one. Oh, let's do another one. And very quickly, I wasn't taking a photo for the sake of us having a photo of us post proposal. I was taking a photo for content. I was taking a photo for the Weddings with Jack page, for the Unmistakably You page, doing everything I could. So that's why I was really thankful that Alex said, okay, I'm done. We're not modeling. We got to call some people. And the best photo that I have of that whole night isn't me posed perfectly beside him. It's me doing this or something. I don't even know what I did.
I
But
love it.
if you notice yourself, again, it's the world of Instagram and comparison and the Kourtney Kardashians. But if you catch yourself trying to get the perfect pose or you're not liking how your face looks, because that's genuine joy. It's just what your face looks like when you are super happy. And it's okay that it's not the most photographable. It shouldn't be. It's real. And that's okay. So if you start to have a panic moment of, oh no, I'm insecure now and I don't look good and I don't want to go out and I hate this, I want to stay home. No, that's just pure euphoric joy. Just feel it, love. Just feel it. And
I
then, like I
completely
said,
agree.
that post proposal panic of I need to call all of them. And you do. I hate to burst that bubble. You actually do. You can't skip anyone.
Yeah, but like you said earlier about working harder, or working smarter, not harder, what I recommend to everyone is the ones that you're telling, have a Zoom call so everyone is there at once. So you're not spending hours and hours and hours on the phone. Just get it kind of done in one shot, right? You want to have
Right?
time to
Love
spend
that.
with your partner as well, but of course you want to share that excitement. So, but do it smart.
I'm so mad I didn't do that. Nicolette was genius.
It's a really good hack. Everyone tell your friends, do the Zoom because and then like you get that joy that everyone has, but all at once, and it's like just a massive Zoom party. It's so
That's
fun.
such a great idea. And what, again, if you are the partner that's doing the proposing or the friend helping, that's an awesome thing to have set up for a partner that does want to get together with everybody, but in a right now kind of a taboo world where we can't get together with all of our friends and family because of size gathering numbers, that is a great alternative. I know for myself, I didn't do that route. So I sat on the phone for an hour and a half, calling the parents, our bonus parents, our siblings, messaging our bonus siblings, calling grandparents. I
The whole crew.
actually, sorry, mom, I called my best friend first. And if I have any advice, I recommend calling them last. And I don't know if Caitlin will actually watch this or not, but Caitlin and I were on the phone for maybe 30 seconds. And then I went, crap, I got to call my mom. I got to call my parents. I got to go because I had too much excitement. But at that point, by the time that I got off the phone with everybody, it was like 11:30 at night. I knew she worked the next day. I knew we would talk tomorrow, but then something came up the next day, so we couldn't talk. And then something came up the next day, so we couldn't talk. And I realized that we still haven't had our freak out moment that I always expected. So if you do have those expectations, this is actually part of the proposal that you can have a bit of control over if you are that partner that likes that control. So these are things that you can pre-plan to implement in that post-proposal to make that post-proposal moment a little less overwhelming. I won't say it's stressful because it's fun, but it's definitely overwhelming. So
Definitely.
like Nicolette touched on, set the expectations with each other. So maybe you want to have that moment with everybody, but you don't want to have to trek across the city and do the little tour around, or maybe you and your partner are a lot farther than your family members. Go for the virtual option. Discuss some guidelines about what you want that to look like post proposal. Another thing that you'll find happen, and Nicolette, I'm sure your friends have told you all the time, and I don't know if you've ever done it to a friend. I have, and I'm officially stopping. But when someone tells you they're engaged, the first question that's normally asked is, well, when's the date? Have you picked the date? When's the venue? Where's the venue? When are you
Oh my
doing this? Is this
goodness.
done?
That's a bit intense.
A day after I was proposed to, somebody asked me when's the date, and I had to kindly remind them, I'm booked all this season, so not this season. And
Yeah.
we're taking inquiries for next season, so probably not next season.
Yeah.
And it was just so much where I hadn't even thought about that. But luckily, Alex and I had this discussion prior to the proposal that we really, no offense to anyone that is in the midst of doing COVID planning, because Amy and I are here to support you. All of your coordinators are. But I couldn't imagine taking my focus away from that and putting any of my own energy into my own wedding. So we both agreed, because we want that big family bash, that all of our planning was going to wait after these couples have had their day. So that way we can really dive into our plans. And luckily by doing so, we've set that expectation with ourselves. So I'm not instantly the next day that I got engaged on the phone with venues trying to book in a wedding boom. I'm
Yeah.
actually basking in being a fiance. I'm going to have so many mugs and sweatshirts by the end of this. It's going to be like a 10-year
All the
engagement.
mugs.
I don't know.
Honestly, and that's not a bad thing, and that's something I think a lot of people rush through. Enjoy being engaged and enjoy not planning yet as well. Enjoy that time of just being a carefree fiance, because it flies by. My
Yes.
sister did a 2-year engagement, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, that is so long," and it flew.
Yep.
It flew by. So really enjoy it, because potentially this is your one time being a fiance, so don't rush it.
Like I said, I finally rhyme with Beyonce. I'm not giving that up
Exactly.
anytime soon. So I've set that expectation with myself and with Alex. So there's a few things that we talk about, but we don't dive into detail. Like, we are comfortable talking about, what season we think our wedding will be in, but I'm not about to show him 1,000 venues that I think will work for the season, because I don't even know for sure what I'm going to want by then. So if you're not
Exactly.
ready to dive into the mammoth of wedding plans, don't. There's no rush. There's that movie 5-Year Engagement, and everyone makes fun of it, but it's become the norm now, and it's okay. The rush to get married was there because you weren't living together. You weren't starting your lives together, and typically you needed to be married to start your families. But this new wave of generation couples and just society now, you definitely don't need any of that to be linear. You can do what you need to do and then throw your big wedding after. And as long as you set that expectation with your friends and your family, you'll be able to kind of curve yourself away from some not dangerous waters, but difficult conversations explaining why you're not jumping into the wedding. I think if I were to ever tell my grandma, like, no, I'm taking my time, like, in her way, she'd go, well, what's wrong with him? Why don't you want to marry him right away? It doesn't mean you don't love your partner. It doesn't mean you don't see a future with them. It just means you want to take your time planning, or vice versa. If you're like, I want to get married this year in 2 months, we're doing it City Hall. Yeah, set that expectation from the get-go. Get as many hands on deck or as many hands off deck as you want. But as long as you're being clear with what you and your partner want and it's true to what you and your partner want, by all means, go for it. There's no rules as to when you start planning or when you don't start planning. But as long as you just set the standards of what that wedding planning looks like, Nicolette's slogan, and I love it, is "This ain't your mama's party." And it's so true. Like, not only just with how trends have changed, but just how people planned. You're going to do things a lot differently than generations prior did, or even how your siblings did, even if it was only 2 years ago or pre-COVID. A lot has changed. A lot has changed. So you're not going to spend hours discussing floating candles. You're going to be the couple that spends hours talking about vacations you're going to take as a family. You're not going to be that generation of couples that freak out because the guy really wants gray suits, but you've always pictured blue. You're going to be the couples that set your expectations, that talk through things, that take all the considerations into account and come up with an action plan together. We've always said that the new way of planning your wedding is to plan your marriage, but it really does start day one of being engaged. You can't assume that all of those skills are going to come up naturally. It really isn't like riding a bike. And if it is, you still have to learn how to ride the bike in order to relearn to ride the bike. So if you and your partner have never been amazing at communicating hard subjects like budgets, like family, like I hate to discuss it, but because of this vaccine mandate, vaccines, you may unfortunately need to dive in those conversations to learn how to discuss them and navigate them in your wedding plans to set that standard. If you practice them early, it's just going to be easier to implement them into your marriage. I'll get off my soapbox. But really big thing is don't focus on planning the wedding and getting into those little nitty-gritty details too early. Cherish growing together as a couple. This is such a cool transitional stage that you are going through together. So make sure you're there for one another.
Agreed.
So, like I said, make sure that you're also not giving your partner too much credit when it comes to your proposal. If you are expecting a proposal, if all you've said is, "Isn't this nice?" while showing them an Instagram video, that does not translate to "This is what I want." In our minds, it does, but in their minds, it doesn't. So express those as expectations, but also make sure they're realistic. So although engagement rings are also priced fairly handsomely, Nicolette's touched on it, and it's such a great point. All proposals also have additional spending, whether it's to save up for the restaurant to go to a dinner. That's still $150, $200 bill, depending on where you go before the ring. Or if you both don't want to have to drive, you've got to weigh in the considerations of transportation cost. It's not just the one thing. There's a lot of things to consider. So please keep your expectations realistic. Or if you're okay with them spending a boatload and you want that and you've expressed that, absolutely get it. Absolutely get it. You do you. But also you have to be okay with them not being able to take as much time off from work while they work towards planning that, because they will have to work for that money. It's not just going to appear. So being aware of all the considerations and all that give and take that comes with the proposal. But the big thing is to remember that you are not getting engaged to plan a wedding. You're getting engaged to plan a marriage. You're not getting engaged to wear a fancy dress. You're not getting engaged to wear a fancy suit or Italian shoes or anything like that. You are getting engaged to move through life with this partner forever. And that is so cool and so awesome. So please don't get lost in the frilly details and things like that. They are so amazing. All those frilly details, do not get me wrong, but they are details nonetheless. And that goes for your proposal. Don't get so caught up if your partner wasn't able to get as many roses as Travis Barker was.
Yeah.
Or like as many cameras as Machine Gun Kelly was. Like, it's
Oh my
okay.
gosh, so many.
Jenner behind the scenes doing all of that for them.
Exactly. I honestly think that is a really great point. And I do think when planning your proposal and planning your wedding, it is a really good like practice run at planning your marriage, because this is where you see where you compromise, where you set your priorities, where someone like is strong about something and where you're going to give and where they're going to take and all that. It's a great like test beforehand or practice run.
I like that. Exactly. And we're not here to say it's going to be easy. You might notice some things that you've never noticed before. Like you might not have ever noticed that because your partner prioritizes this, actually really frustrates you. And you never knew that, but now you're in it. There are some amazing courses. I'll definitely link. Jody from Something New does some amazing marriage prep courses. Sometimes churches will do it as well if that's your denomination. So look into those classes. Again, we're huge about the no shame factor here. You do what you need to do to be the best you that you can be. And if that's including a couple classes along the way, absolutely. Like Nicolette just said, it's a practice run. Why not get in as much practice as you can? And
Exactly.
something to remember is that getting proposed to or getting engaged is not the end of being boyfriend and girlfriend or boyfriend and boyfriend or girlfriend and girlfriend, partner and partner. It's the start of something. Or sorry, it's not even the start of that. It's actually just continuing on what you already have. So some people will ask, don't you feel different? Do you feel different with a ring on your finger? And you probably won't. You probably won't. You'll probably feel the exact same. So make sure that you're also not creating that unconscious pressure of yourself that I should be feeling different. We should be communicating better because we are engaged, or we should be diving into wedding plans because we are engaged. If you hear yourself saying the word should and your wedding plans, just give a little flick or something on your forehead and count how many times you're actually saying it. Because the only thing that you should be doing is staying together and showing up for the two of you. And as long as you're doing that, you're doing everything you need to do. So that's it. That's our soapbox for the day. Again, engagements proposals are something that we don't often talk about because it's kind of something that we're not involved with. We come in either a week after or a couple months after, but it is something that we should talk about because if you have huge expectations for your proposal, it's likely that you have huge expectations for your marriage. So if you take any of those things about having expectations, considerations, and turning them into actions, should be fairly transferable to take that into your wedding plans too. So Nicolette, thank you for listening to me blab on and always giving some great insight. I always love hearing your input.
It is always a blast to be here. So thank you for having me and congratulations again.
Thank you. I have to go give him a high five. I asked him if it was okay if I told our proposal story about 2 minutes before I went online. So,
Wow.
it's that ask forgiveness, not permission thing, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
What a trooper.
I know. He was like, oh, are you going to tell them about my decorating skills? I was like, no.
Never. Maybe.
So, a huge thank you again, Nicolette, and to Alex for giving me something to talk about this Sunday, and to all of you for tuning in, whether it was live or you're catching the replay. Again, we go live every single Sunday. This month is all about setting those expectations. So next week's not so fun, but definitely needed. We're going to be talking about setting realistic budget expectations and what weddings are actually costing these days. But yeah, thank you
fun.
so much, Nicolette. Thank you, everybody. I hope everyone has an awesome rest of their weekend, whatever it looks like. And we'll see everybody soon.
Bye.